G'day to all my friends and family, and welcome to Jim's 5am Club. I thought I'd go for a drive this morning, and I've come up here to the mountains, and as you can see, it snowed a couple of days ago, but there's still a little bit of snow left on this field here. So I thought I'd bring you up here and just highlight the beauties of this place that we live in. And snow is something which brings out the child in all of us. So what we'll do is we'll go over here and see what we've got. We've got this snowman. The middle of the field. This would have been a nice place to be yesterday when all the kiddies were here. But here we go. We've got a snowman. Here we go. Hey! Something I've always wanted to do. Haven't made a snowman yet, but I will one day. But he's got the carrot for the nose. He's got his hands. And yeah, that's about it. So what we'll do is we'll do a bit of a walk and talk. So I'll just walk through this park here, which has snow still on the ground. And we'll go through a book summary. And the book summary that I want to share with you today is another interesting one. It's entitled Thoughts Without a Thinker by an author named Mark Epstein. And it's one of those books which I guess talks a little bit about mental illness. I went on a course yesterday. My employer put me on a course called Safe Talk. And this course was all about, being a buddy to people that we work with, somebody who is open and available to chat to on different topics. And some of the topics were, of course, mental illness, substance abuse, and the most serious one of all is suicide. So the author here in this book kicks off with a quote where he says that one of the key contenders to mental illness is a mistaken idea of self. So it's interesting. It's interesting to look at it that way and to think about it that way, because what we're kind of suggesting here is that mental illness could be caused by having a mistaken sense of yourself. So how was that? Really interesting that maybe the expectations that we have, maybe the expectations other people have foisted upon us could be wrong and cause us challenges that we really shouldn't be facing. So the author goes back and talks a little bit about where this sort of philosophy comes from, or these beliefs come from. And Sigmund Freud is quoted, and he said he was one of the first to unpack this mystery that some of us at some point in our lives may be the subject of mistaken identity, which leads to problems in terms of mental illness or perceived mental illness. It may not be real, but it may be just perceived. So the author then goes on to talk about that people, including us, he said here, we all have grown up with a cognitive dissonance, which basically means that there's a disconnect in our brains and our minds between two different things. And he says that these things create a discrepancy with how society wanted us to behave and what our natural tendency is. Because we all are different, we all are unique. We all grow up with different energy levels, with different beliefs, because we've all had different experiences. We've had different parents and different parenting to each other, and we've all grown up, as we said, with different slithers of reality, because how we grew up and in the environment that we grew up will also influence how we see the world and how we assess reality. So, and as we say, we all have natural tendencies. Some people are naturally friendly, other people are naturally cautious, other people are naturally boisterous, other people are naturally, good, and others could be naturally not good. There is a natural tendency that each of us have and each of us are able to tap into. But depending on the culture that you grow up in, depending on the family environment you grow up in, depending on the school that you go to, and the rules and the culture of that school or that community or that religion that you've got, may influence and impact how you see and how you fit into the world. So the author here talks about versus nature. Sorry, Paula. That was Paula trying to call, but if I answer the call, my live video will drop out, so I'll call her back when I finish. So the author then goes on to mention that we have a discrepancy between who we are and who we think we should be, which warps, I like the way they say this, which warps our sense of self. This is important because the last thing you want is for people to feel bad about themselves and to feel that they don't belong because of some warped sense of self. How terrible would that be? So the discrepancy between who we think we are or should be warps our sense of self. So in many ways, people look at themselves and think that they're living a lie. How many times I've heard people say to me over the years, in terms of their career, in terms of their relationship, in terms of their, fitting in to certain groups, that they end up not liking themselves because they think that they are living a lie. And all of these things, to a certain extent, as the author suggests, leads to psychological or potential psychological traumas. Because we can either have one of two things, and I really, really like this point. I've never considered this before. Because as we say, the warping that happens between who we think we are and who society suggests we should try and be can either lead us to an inflated or a deflated sense of self. And those differences are really, really important. Because if you've got a deflated sense of self, it could lead to chronic depression, or you could feel depressed, spontaneously or all the time. But an inflated sense of self, according to the author, could also be just as damaging, if not more damaging, because it creates a narcissistic tendencies. And we all know how bad it is, or how terrible it is to be surrounded by people who have these narcissist tendencies. They can be quite ugly and quite confronting. because a narcissist, they also suffer mental illness because of their obsessive focus on themselves. The important thing, I guess, is to be in between, to have a balance of a healthy sense of self, but also a humble sense of self as well. So what are narcissists? According to the author here, they're people who are characterized by being prideful, arrogant, delusional, very much into their selfie culture, says Jim here, holding a selfie stick, and very much on the individualists, people who thrive on standing out, being different, being better, which leads to problems, as we know, especially if you're having to live with them, work with them, or socialise with them. But depressed people, on the other hand, people who have got a low sense of self, don't care enough, don't really care, don't give a damn about anything, about their identity. They feel that they don't matter, whereas a narcissist think that only they matter and they're the centre of the world. So where does this lead us? What do we learn from this? The second formal point to come out of this book here is where the author says that we need to become free from the self and alleviate mental illness with the teachings, the suggested teachings, should I add, of Buddhism. And from his perspective, he mentions that Buddhism is all about mindfulness, with a focus on meditation, which helps cure the problems of self, and it allows you to free yourself from attachment to things, people, places, and all of those other things which lead to challenges. Another lesson from Buddhism here, from what the author is saying, is all about compassion. To be focused on others as opposed to focused too much on your own needs. To worry about others as opposed to be worrying about yourself. I guess, being a Christian, being a Greek Orthodox Christian, the things that the author talks about here are very much part and parcel of a Christian lifestyle as well. I can say that there's a thread that can be drawn which links one with the other, and you could also talk about this from a Christian perspective as opposed to a Buddhist perspective. And the third key point to come from this text is where the author talks a little bit more about mindfulness, and he talks about the importance of being at peace with your emotions, with both your good and your bad emotions, to accept them both, to understand that there is good and bad everywhere. There is salt and pepper everywhere. There is the yin and yang in everything. We need happiness and sorrow. We need strength and weakness. All of these things work together to create the world in which we live in, and the person who we are. We've got both good and bad, positive and negative, but all of it needs to work together in a way which creates a useful and positive outcome, I guess, is what they're trying to suggest, and what I'm trying to express and get out. So the author here talks about a thing called bare attention. Let's see, what is bare attention? Bare attention is to let the things that annoy us just wash over us, and not to catch it, not to trap it, not to hold it. Once again, this is also a Christian teaching, to turn the other cheek, to not allow things that annoy us to stick and to stay with us, to forgive. One of the great Christian teaching is to offer and to seek forgiveness, to understand that we're always doing things which are offending, which are hurting other people around us. So to allow things to wash over, even the bad things in our lives, don't fight it, because by fighting it, I guess the key point, by fighting these things is that we're making them real and we're keeping them alive. Whereas if you let it wash over, then you give it permission to leave and not to stay, attached to you, I guess is one way of suggesting it as well. So if you feel unpleasant what the author is saying here, pause for a moment and refrain from judging and just let it be. Once again, they're Christian sort of teachings. If you're unhappy with something, unhappy with somebody, pause for a moment. Give it time to happen. Don't fight it, I guess is the point. And refrain from judgment. Refrain from judgment, and just let it be. Once again, the Beatles had that wonderful song, "Let It Be," from the 70s, early 70s, late 60s. Let It Be. I think it was "Let It Be, Let It Be, Let It Be." That must have been in the late 60s, because I remember being a kid and still in primary school when "Let It Be" came out. So what else is there here? So what the author is saying is that by letting things go, it will make you feel a lot better, and we mustn't ever take things too personal. I guess that's it. So thank you very much for joining me on this episode of Jim's 5am Club. Just tell me, who else do you know would go out of their way to bring the snow to you on a Friday and overlay it with a message of empowerment? This is what I absolutely love about this initiative known as Jim's 5am Club, because it does give us an opportunity to be partners in each other's growth and development, to highlight and showcase the beauty of Sydney, and to overlay it with messages of empowerment that allow us to join together and to grow and develop, and to have an opportunity to live, learn and pass it on. So let's be, wherever possible, the wind beneath our wings, the snowmen in our fields, and we'll finish off with a positive affirmation. I'm alive, I am well, and I feel absolutely great. To my friends and family, stay connected, stay relevant, stay reasonable, and most importantly, let's take some lessons from this book, Thoughts Without a Thinker by Mark Epstein, and learn to live a better life, a life where we're mindful and we're detached and we don't worry about things that are not worth worrying about. Anyway, take care. Bye for now. From the snow with Mr. Snowman, as you can see, and we'll chat again. Yassas. Bye for now. Ciao.